Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, coming at you live to talk about episode 3 of the anime series ClassicaLoid Season 2. And this one, once again, was all kinds of hilarious and absurd. A singles party as being thrown by Motes, and I was completely under the assumption that this was his idea, that he had come up with this somehow in some way. And I was actually kind of surprised to find that no, this was all Sosuke's idea. Having his groupie girls coming over and everything, Kanai's friends and whatever like that. And so it was Sosuke's idea to have this, singles party. And out of that, Motes had concocted this idea. If he could somehow get one of these girls smitten with Wa-kun, he would get, what was effectively, I guess, Beethoven's room, back for himself. And that kind of is how it plays out. I'm still going to be waiting expectantly for the next episode to find out if Kanai let this play out that way. If per the organization that, as Motes had, delineated it, if he's going to get that room back or not. If he gets to keep the room, we'll see. But I think the most fascinating aspect about this episode was, number one, the introduction of the new character Uzuki. I don't know if she's meant to be like a ClassicaLoid or something like that, or, I mean, we get the idea that she is a friend of Kanai's, and it's somebody Kanai has known for a while, so presumably there's nothing more really to her, but she has a very interesting sort of point of view that, at least Wa-kun, his estimation is, it's very much a, revolutionary sort of tack, a revolutionary mindset, and this is really highly compelling to me, because he says, in referencing to her and observing her and suddenly being wowed by her and very smitten and moved by her, smitten with and moved by her, he is suddenly talking about, well, this is the revolutionary tack I've been looking for. I'm longing for a revolution. And immediately I called back to Baksama. Is he talking about like a musical revolution because he is a ClassicaLoid, he is a composer, or at least he ought to be? There is still some minced concept there about his being a botched version of a ClassicaLoid. Maybe he cannot summon forth the music or something like that. It remains to be seen, but what kind of revolution does he have in mind? Melodic revolution, the same way Baksama was trying to impose on everyone on the world and the universe and everything, as seen in the first season, or something more real-world based? As someone was telling me in the comments on my episode 2 discussion video, the real-life Wagner eventually aligned with what would later become the nationalistic party of Hitler. To me, some of his dialogue, some of Wa-kun's dialogue in this episode was very sort of pushing the envelope. Now that I'm familiar with that fact, of sort of trepidation, like what kind of revolution does he mean? Because he obviously, he's talking about the idea of a revolutionary party bounding off of an already established party, that party coming back, rearing its ugly head once again, and this coincides with the coming back of Motes to the party after he had been found out for cheating. The King's Game. They were playing the King's Game. I'm currently reviewing an anime called Osama Game the Animation, King's Game the Animation. And I'm like, that's a show where everyone's getting killed. So I'm like, don't play the King's Game in ClassicaLoid, man. But, he was cheating. He got found out and everything like that. And so this Azuki girl takes over as sort of the headliner of this singles party. And, of course, Liz. And it was cool seeing Chekhov and Bada finally. They come back with her after going out shopping. Because apparently Motes tried to, schmooze them by giving them a coupon card or something. That didn't even give them that many discounts. But they spent a ton of money anyway. And when they come home, they're all sort of upset that they weren't included. It was something he had done to get them away from the house. Kanai wasn't even there. She had club stuff she was doing, and some of the people who were supposed to be a part of that are at this singles party, her friends, So, I mean, it was all kinds of insane and hilarious that. But I just find it absolutely tantalizing and compelling, the aspect that, Wa-kun wants a revolution. And it's like, what does that mean? Does that fall in line with what Baksama was trying to bring about in the first season? Or is there something much darker? Is there a darker undertone to it all? If the real Wagner aligned himself with that nationalistic party, that would eventually be the party of Hitler. I don't know. I mean, this show could really do anything. It could interpret it any which way. There's so much of the history of this show, of the characters that it's based on, that they sort of play around with loosely, that kind of thing. They take inspiration from and they implant that into the background of the characters without necessarily being, stringent right down to every last little fact and everything like that. The time frame within which these things really occurred to the real people. And so again, I'm now kind of really highly curious. What kind of revolution is it Wa-kun is after? And is it maybe a revolution against the ClassicaLoids? Because he has that chip on his shoulder. He's seen as the incomplete version. Maybe he has something to prove against the established ClassicaLoids themselves. Maybe not the world at large, and as I was talking with one of you guys in the comments on the second episode discussion video, it seems the OP almost pointedly directs that, sort of the two conflicting, overarching conflicting personas in this show are going to be Beethoven and Wa-kun, especially with that little history that they played around with in the previous couple of episodes. Of the original Wagner's having a high estimation of the real world Beethoven. So his orchestrations and things like that, he was moved by that and studied that in the real world. So it's very possible that Beethoven will be the sum of all his fears in a sense. But obviously, the most antagonistic aspect of this episode was Moats wanting to get that room and seemingly having won the day, because at least as far as he's concerned, whether assisted by his music or not, it's his firmly established proclamation that Wa-kun and Uzuki hit it off, and that was what allowed him to take the win, And I thought it was cool that we're hearing, so many different new interpretations of these classic composers' works. We had a different song for Beethoven in the previous episode. This was, I believe, the Marriage of Figaro or something like that for Mozart in this episode. And how fitting that was, how it played into the whole dream sequence. I felt so bad for Sosuke. He just wants to hook up with Bada-kun, all told, or Bada, whatever, And she's keeping him at arm's length. But in the dream estimation of the music, everybody hooks up with who they most desire. Maybe with the exception of Chopin, because as per the PV for the next episode, apparently he's going to get a little close to Dovo-kun. It's like he feels like they are simpatico. They are very much cut from the same cloth. In that, I guess because he's a hippo, Dovo-kun doesn't really say much to anyone. So that's going to be hilarious and interesting, I'm sure. And as was this episode, I love this series. I cannot get enough of the OP. Anytime it's on, I play it over and over again, at least twice per viewing, even if I watch the episode only once. And yeah, I mean, this was a rollicking, fun ride. Once again, seeing Moats called out for being a cheater, playing a game, like I said, the King's Game. I'm watching an anime where people are dying brutally playing the King's Game, and I'm like, no! And all that good stuff, man. Whatever this revolutionary tack that Wa-kun is on, man, am I going to be really highly anticipating finding out what that is and how far along he's going to go with that. And whether or not he's going to actually persuade Uzuki over to his cause, or if he even needs to persuade her. Maybe it looked like she had a similar fascination and interest in him as he did her. So maybe they will come together in, like, as a force antagonistically against the rest of the ClassicaLoids. Who knows? And it remains to be seen. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 3 of ClassicaLoid Season 2, if you've seen it as well. Any further insights you have are always welcome. Love having that conversation. And yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. If this video finds you well, I'll catch you all later. Peace.